Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Pearl Daily here on the Audacity Network. So this past weekend, guys, I went to something a little bit different, something I've never been to before. I was introduced to the world of anime. And I went to this anime convention and I was very confused. There was men walking around in dresses. And my producer, the nice guy he is, he picked me up from the airport and he was explaining to me about femboys and traps. And we decided today we're going to do a fun game where I have to decide if somebody is a man or a woman. So he compiled a list of characters, and I get to pick if I think they're male or female. Now, guys, do not give me any spoilers in the chat. And also, if you have anything you want to comment, go to theaudacitynetwork.com and sign up for my monthly or yearly memberships. It's $10 a month, $80 a year, and you can get the app right on your phone. And I will read your comment if you go into the live chat there. Okay.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. So first on the list, we got...
So you want to read it out to them?
Oh, I just read it.
Okay.
Identify the traps of anime.
So you give them two answers, whether they're male or female, and if they're a trap or not.
If they're a trap.
A trap is the character is disguising themselves as the other sex.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I either think they're male or female. Pearl will be shown a character from an anime, then attempt to identify if the character is a male or a female, or if they are a trap in their anime. Okay. Okay, are these all the same person?
These are all going to be the same person. They're going to have different costumes.
Okay. I think that's a woman, but that's a trap. I think that's a woman trying to be a man.
So
it's a male.
Yeah. So it's just a regular guy.
Okay. Oh, he's a regular guy?
Yeah.
Why did they give him eyes like that?
It's anime, I'm telling you.
Okay. Go to the next one. All right. Is this character male or female? So that's tough. I'm going to say it's a woman because she, but she's got a dog and we just really like to buy dogs.
Okay. And do you think that's a trap or not?
I don't know if it's a trap, but I think it's just a tomboy.
Okay.
So I think it's a woman tomboy.
So it is a trap.
Okay, so if it's a trap, they're trying to be the other gender?
Yeah. In the context of the universe, people think that they're the other sex, or they're purposely disguising themselves.
Okay, so it's a she. Okay, but I was right on the gender.
You were right on.
Okay, let me keep going. I think that's got to be a trap woman because it's like a male on the left and then the middle, it's a girl. Yeah, so yeah, it's like a male, but it's a trap, so it's pretending to be a female.
It is just a guy. He gets forced to, in the show, he has to wear the maid outfit because he loses like a bet.
Oh, okay. Wow, these are tough. Okay, that's got to be a woman. That's got to be a woman. The eyes are too female, and then I think he's trapping when he puts the dress on.
Okay, so you think
Sorry, it's a woman. It's a woman.
it's a woman you think is trap. That is correct.
Yay, I got that one.
All right. There we go.
That's a woman.
Okay.
Not a trap. I think it's just a woman.
It is
It's a guy? What is up with these anime things?
I'm telling you, this is why they're around.
I do not understand this. Okay, keep going, keep going. Male.
Okay.
Trap.
You think he's disguising himself as a girl?
Yeah, it's a male trap. So it's a...
It's just the male.
Oh.
It's just how he looks.
I see why the men were in dresses now.
Yeah.
Is this a male or a female? I think that's a female.
Okay.
Trap. Well, it's like a male trap. So it's a female pretending to be a guy.
All right. You are right about
Yes. I knew it. That's a woman.
that. Okay. It is
What
actually a guy.
What the heck? Okay, keep going, keep going. Do you guys like anime in the chat? Are you guys let me know if you guys watch this stuff. So can't you just call them... Oh, I can't say that word. That's what got me demonetized originally. But okay, this has got to be... I think it's a male pretending to be a woman. So it's a female trap.
Okay. You are incorrect. It is just a girl.
But look at her shoulders. They're so broad.
Yeah.
I guess the boobs should have given it away.
You would think.
Yeah. I don't know. There's boob jobs now, though. I don't know how far they're going to go to sell it, you know. Keep going.
All right.
Okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at the boobs. All right, that's a female trap because he, she, whatever is flat-chested.
So you think it's a female?
Yeah, I think it's a male pretending to be a woman.
You are correct.
Yes. Okay, I think that's the tell. You have to look at the boobs. Okay, keep going. All right, flat-chested. That's a guy.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm getting good. There's no way the anime... Okay, I don't see boobs on this one. Maybe... I'm going to say guy. Final answer.
You think it's a guy?
Because I don't see boobs.
Okay. It is not.
Oh, dang it. She just wasn't blessed.
No, she's just a little kid.
Oh, she's young. Okay. Male.
Okay, male and...
No. You know what? I'm going to go female. Because the eyes are like almost purple and that's kind of girly. I just think the eyes are making me think, okay, male trap.
You think this is a male trap?
Yeah.
It is not.
Dang it.
It's just a girl.
Oh, these are tough. Okay, keep going. I think that's a female. No boobs. Okay, I'm gonna start looking at the legs. So if the legs are thinner, maybe. No, but in the anime convention, they really had a Coke bottle shape. They had these like naked girls on posters, like basically naked, and they would have a very Coke bottle. I think it's a guy.
A guy?
Yeah, no curves. Female trap.
You think it's a female trap?
Yeah.
Well, there would be male trap at that point. The trap is they're pretending to be the sex that they're not.
Oh, so it's a male trap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you think it's a guy pretending to be female. But it's not. It's just a trap.
I'm not doing good at this game. Keep going. Are there any more? Okay.
Yeah, there's 20.
Okay. Are they a trap? So this is all the same character?
It is all the same character.
I think that's a guy. That looks like a guy. And I don't know if it's a guy trap because he's wearing both, but I'm going to just say male.
You're just going to say male flat out?
Yeah, maybe he's like a cross dresser. I'm going to say male.
Okay. It is not. It's a female
Oh
trap.
my goodness. Do you guys find this? Do you find her hot, guys? Like, is this what you guys are into? I don't know. Oh, Sailor Moon. I've heard of that one before. I should have known. Keep going. All right, all right, no boobs. That's a guy.
Okay. Just a guy?
Just a guy.
It's actually a male trap. He dresses as a girl.
So in this, why do they dress as women? Like, what's the point?
It depends on the story context. A lot of times it's just a funny gag from
Oh,
the shows.
it's
People like
not to like date, but are they trying to?
sometimes with this character, I'm pretty sure they're gay. But
Oh,
like it kind of depends series to series.
okay. They said Japanese men are more feminine looking. That's a woman. I'm gonna say woman that pretends to be a guy because she's got the guns.
Okay.
I see boobs though. I'm gonna.
See the female trap.
Yeah, female trap.
It's just
Oh,
a
just
gag.
okay. Keep going. Male. That's a male. I see the skirt, so I'm gonna say male trap.
It's actually a female.
What?
It's a girl.
There is no way you could tell in these animes.
This is an easy list too.
There's harder ones.
Absolutely.
Okay, keep going. Is this how you guys feel when you see trans people on dating apps? Because some of them are getting pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't be able to tell for some. All right, that's got to be a woman. That's a woman.
Okay.
No boobs. Male trap.
You are correct.
Yes. Okay, keep going. I'm gonna say female trap. That looks like Mulan.
But it's just a regular dude.
All right. Okay, keep going. What did I get? What was my score?
You got like 14 out of 40.
I got 14 out of 40. Well, it's all right. So I like super failed.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. But that's what it's
All right, if you guys like that, let me know in the comments and we'll do it again. I'm going to read the stream on the website. Okay, Tom says this is dumb. You know what? Thank you, Tom. Thank you for your input. I did ask. We're American men. We don't watch cartoons. And then Rob, he disagreed in the chat. He said, I love Warner Bro. cartoons. Maybe the Japs need to watch less too and F their women more. Old cartoons are good, no question, but these new cartoons suck. Rob says you're ignorant, no imagination. Tom says this is dumb. Rob says I agree. No one cares about anime. We're adults, and this is a waste of time. Well, if you guys want your complaint to be heard, please go to the website on theaudacitynetwork.com. Okay, so let's get into the stories of the day. So, a term that I heard when I first started listening to Red Pill content was F trophies for clout. Now, what is an F trophy for clout? That is when usually women, but sometimes men, use their family and their children for clout on the internet. So the first person I heard use this term is Ryan Stone. Now, Ryan Stone is a very smart Red Pill content creator, and he does he has really interesting streams. And he responded to Matt Walsh, and he said, he actually has a good book. You guys should buy it. He said, "Welcome to the world." And it was Matt Walsh and his children. And he said, showing off the F trophies for clout. Now, when I originally heard this term, I thought it was a little bit harsh. I thought, well, I mean, he's just posting a picture with his kids. What's wrong with that? But the thing about Red Pill content is sometimes once you see things, you just simply cannot unsee it. And once you notice how people use their children on the internet for attention, likes, and clicks, even though there are literal pedophiles on that app, Twitter, and they have no regard for their children's privacy, you really can't unsee it. Now, what I'm not saying is that you can never post a picture with your family ever. But we're getting to the point where people are live streaming their kids being born. And the first thing they do after their kids are born is post it to Twitter. Not send a picture to the family, not enjoy the moment privately for a couple of days. No, it's all going on Twitter. I even saw a woman named Bernadine Bluntly post a literal video of her giving birth on the internet. Now, look, I understand that at times, maybe for educational purposes, you put something online. I understand that maybe, there's pros and cons of posting your family. Like when Kanye let out that, or sorry, when Kanye released that song with his daughter, I actually thought it was adorable and it looked like they were having a lot of fun. However, trad Twitter has taken this too far. They have it's getting ridiculous. Now, I noticed this trend and there was somebody named Anna Louise. I really don't know a ton of her content, but it seems like she posts pro family, like trad content, right? Like that's her brand. That's what she's making money on. I actually can't believe she follows me. Wow. Okay. And she posted a picture with her family and she says, "This is the way." And I am interpreting this because when I see this content, I'm thinking, what message is she trying to send? She's saying, live like me, be like me. And she's using her family as a prop for social media. I mean, that's what essentially the message is, right? Be like me, have a bunch of children like I did. And the scary thing is when you learn about how pedophiles are on these apps looking for pictures of your children to track them down and get more information on them. And oftentimes they might, try to add them on different apps when they get to the age that they're on. The internet's kind of a weird and scary, the internet's kind of a weird and a scary place. And I just always wonder, when you're posting your kids' faces on the internet, at what cost? And essentially, what a lot of the traditional conservatives are signaling is that they care more about their brand than the privacy of their family. Now, I'm not even saying one's right or wrong. I'm sure some people post their family on the internet and it's fine. However, essentially, they're communicating that the money is more important than the privacy of. And I really do think at some point, one of these kids is going to have a lawsuit against their parents for not giving them privacy when they are kids. Now, when I tweeted this completely set the internet in flames. People were very upset with me. I remember at the time, sorry, Pearl, this is actually the way. Now, I'm not saying it is or it isn't the way, but I think that's something that every guy has to decide for himself. I know men that they just want to focus on building their businesses, and that's just what they want to do. Family just is not a priority for them. If it happens, it happens, but it's just not something that they want to do. I don't think that one makes someone morally superior to another. I don't know if that makes sense. Anyways, then they're trying to say your depopulation, da 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 da. And really my only point was, you guys are claiming traditionalism, but you're sacrificing your children's privacy for money. Okay. What's not plugged in? Oh, okay, thank you. Now, I recently noticed a woman on Twitter erupting that apparently Nick and his groypers were making rape jokes or grape jokes about her daughter. Now, that is wrong, right? That is completely wrong. You should not make those type of jokes about someone's daughter. But I don't know when, she's on this whole tirade saying Nick is wrong, his followers are wrong, they're evil. And I kept thinking, where is the accountability for the mother? So the original post is, she says, people are saying that I'm making Nick F look bad, but why would I care about his reputation or support him when he doesn't support me? Nick, how about you tell your pedo cult crew to stop making grape comments about my underage daughter? Now, my questions are, why do people even know you have a daughter if you're a political commentator? Why is that information out there? Whose choice was that? Ever since you said on your show, with the most sinister, deceptive grin on your face, the groypers have only gotten worse, and you won't acknowledge that it's wrong about coping and deflection. Now, what do we know about that group on the internet? They make very edgy jokes. They will take it to the extreme. I mean, these guys, they're kind of I don't really want to send them after me right now, but I'm just being honest. You guys are kind of annoying. Like, you guys are in everyone's comments spamming. Like, that's just the group. But again, the same reason when they spam me with stuff, I don't complain because I made that choice to interview him. She takes zero accountability for her choice to interact with these things. And it just drives me nuts where these ladies, they want to play the victim when they want all of the clout for going online. They want all of the benefit of being a public figure, making money on the internet. And there's a ton. I'm not saying one is right or wrong. You can pick yourself. But what I am saying is, if you choose this path, there are consequences. And if your children have those consequences, that's your own fault. I don't have a lot of sympathy. Now, then what happens is the white knights come in. I don't care if you're a groyper, MAGA, far left, far right. Joking about graping someone's child isn't cool, edgy, and isn't funny. These are lines we don't cross, especially if you call yourself a Christian. Now, I'm not disagreeing with that point. I'm not disagreeing that it's wrong. But we all know what kind of app Twitter is. There is literal pornography on that app. Literal. So a lot of these people have no regard for their children when they're using an app that is used for pornography and then using their children for clout. Okay, agreed, this should be obvious. At the same time, my haters always do this guilt by association smear, which is clearly dishonest and bad faith. Let's not be naive. The drama queen in question should block, report, and move on. Exactly. So I just don't have a lot of sympathy. So, I had to give in my 2 cents. I really had to. So, she goes in. Let me go back. No, okay. To be fair, I probably didn't have to. I'm gonna hands up. I didn't have to say anything. But sometimes there's just a fire that gets lit in me when I see things that are really, I don't like the pretending to be a victim. I get a lot of people making fun of me. Okay. A lot. I've had a lot of people say awful things. And I don't play the victim because I have the best job on the planet right now. And again, what they want is they want all of the benefits of being on the internet, all the benefits of posting their kids, and none of the blame when anything goes wrong. Okay, here we go. So she's written an essay, and I'm not going to read this because, quite frankly, I just don't care. An essay about, all these people, I don't deserve to be called a whore. And by the way, this is a woman who's called me a whore. Bitch, I don't care. Say what you want. But this girl does the same exact thing. Now, she writes an essay and she says, I say, why is your child on the internet? She says she's not. Then shut up. No one cares because you chose to be online and you mention your kid. We all know the internet's full of weirdos, right? We all know this. So, but you think that privacy is less important than a public presence. That's what you picked. You picked it. Nobody put a gun to your head and said go online. And this could all be done if she just deletes her account. It would never happen again. Gone, done, problem solved. But what they're doing is she's trying to play the victim to get sympathy from idiot men who, whenever they see a woman cry, they just have to run to her defense. And a lot of these guys are falling for it. So, I think that's really all I got to say. You know, and then she tries to call me a pedo. I'm like, why do women do that? They put the worst insult imaginable. I've been saying for years to get your kids offline. I've been saying this for years. I've been saying, hey, trads, you know, I don't know if you should put your kids on the internet. There's pedos on this app. And they say, Pearl, you're so evil. You're the worst. I don't know, guys. I know the clout and the money is nice, but you know, it's one thing if they're adults, but they don't really have a say in this, or even teenagers, okay, if they have their own account. But I don't know, that kid's like 5. No? Okay, you guys are in politics. Politics is pretty, like, they go pretty far in politics to destroy everything. No, but clout? Okay. Anyways, my 2 cents. I don't want to go too into the back and forth because this lady's crazy. Okay, so did I miss anything? What else did I? Oh yeah, just an essay. Cry me a river. Cry me a river. Okay. Now, I want to give an update on the Sydney Sweeney situation. So, as you guys know, the internet has erupted debating if they find Sydney Sweeney erupted on how attractive Sydney Sweeney is. Now, Sydney Sweeney is an internet movie star. Now, she is an attractive woman, right? And she's known for being, let me do Sydney Sweeney. She's known for being a blonde bombshell. Okay, this is what she's known for looking like. I mean, is this 8, 9, 10? What do you, I mean, 8? I'd say 8, right? Now, recently, these pool pictures got leaked. And they basically showed what she looks like day to day. Now, clearly, she's not ugly, right? Not unattractive. But the internet is saying that she is a catfish, that this is not as attractive as this. And I think this really hit a pain point amongst men. Because, you know, I'll talk to guys that are going on dates off of dating apps, and they think they're going on a dating app with a 7. But they're really going on a dating app with a chubby 5. They said, whoa, that 20 pounds wasn't in your picture. Whoa, that picture is at least 5 years old. Whoa. Did you get rid of your big nose on Facetune? The men are kind of sick of it, right? This is a pain point. That's why it went so viral, because men are matching with women, maybe not this attractive, but the equivalent that look like this, right? So they match, they think they're going on a date with this, and really they're going on a date with this. Now, clearly attractive, definitely, but not as attractive as they thought. That was the whole point. Now, I think, you know, I've been wanting to give out a award for Simp of the Year. I think I want to give out awards Simp of the Year, Karen of the Year, and Whore of the Year. Lily Phillips is getting my 304 of the year. 100 men in a day. No one can top that. You have to be a number 1 draft pick. Maybe we should make like a award ceremony and a medal, you know. Now, Michael Knowles recently, he just released a video, and I want to go over his response. So let's see here.
Hot. This is the debate that has taken over social media.
Now, again, it's the same thing. It's the pretty girl cries, men must rush to her to defend her honor, right?
Of my Twitter feed is Sydney Sweeney hot, and people can't agree on this question. Well, they agree on the question, they can't agree on the answer. I must weigh in. I have very strong opinions on this debate. I am not going to wade into the substantive matter all that much. I'm not going to make some impassioned case for why or why not Sydney Sweeney is hot, because I find that untoward, because I'm a married man, and that's just not the sort of thing a respectable fellow would do. However, I will make one cultural observation why the is Sydney Sweeney hot debate matters. And that is this whole debate, the fact that the debate is taking place is proof of widespread addiction. I think that's really what lies at the heart of this. And
now, again, it's the same pattern, right? Men say, hey, she's... One of the tweets that went viral was from Nuclear Caudillo. And he said, all women are catfishes, just to what degree? So he didn't call her ugly. He didn't say unattractive, but I think objectively, she is a catfish. Now, I think she's a 6.5. I think that's fair. 7. I'd say 7. And she can go to an 8 or a 9. Is that fair? Maybe a 6 to an 8, depending on what your type is. Maybe you're into Asians. I don't know. But to say that's corn addiction, I don't think men have that high of standards. I mean, guys in the chat, you let me know. Do you guys need a woman hotter than Sydney Sweeney? I mean, would Sydney Sweeney be good enough for you? Would that be enough? But the reason this went viral, he's completely off. It's because it hit a pain point, because men can relate to being catfished. And this would be super common when I did my show. So if you guys don't know, I moved to England to play volleyball, did a show on the side where I interviewed 1,000 women in like 1.5, 2 years. And women would come on the show and they would follow me after on Instagram. So like they would say, follow me back or whatever. And back then I was more charitable with my follow, I'd follow. And there would be times where I didn't know who they were because they looked so different. And they get so delusional where women think they look like the internet version of themselves. And that's where you get the, women that are, 5, 6, 7, 8 saying they deserve 10 in men, because online they can attract that, right? So online they can get that caliber of guy or get attention, but it's not real, right? If you face tune your waist to be smaller, men in real life still see the gut,
Don't need to just take my word for it. You can also take the credibility and the authority of Jean Baudrillard, who's a sociologist, a postmodern philosopher. We've mentioned him on this show before. You might recall, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I had a great commentator, Wokel Distant.
I got to give you simp of the year, Michael. I think, the Nala interview, the doubling down on the Nala interview, and now this, I'm going to have to do an awards ceremony. I'm going to have to do it. I think I'm going to give, medals. If you guys want me to, go to theaudacitynetwork.com. I got to fundraise for these trophies. I really want to go. Maybe I'll invite them. It'll be a whole event. Simp of the year, horror of the year, Karen of the year. Who would you guys put as Karen of the year? Who would you guys put? Let me know in the chat. Maybe we could vote. Oh my gosh, that could be fun. That could be fun.
And he was discussing Baudrillard's theory of hyper reality. And the analogy he used was, he said, in ancient days, people ate strawberries.
Look, you guys gotta go to the website. They're saying do it. Do you know how expensive it is to put on an awards ceremony in that little of time? I have one person here, one. If you guys want me to go all out, it could be virtual. I mean, that's cheaper. I'm just saying, go to theaudacitynetwork.com and I will read your comments.
And they said, wow, the strawberry tastes really good. And then over time, they said, the strawberry is so good, but I want even more of the strawberry, even more potent form. So they made strawberry jam. And then over the years, they said, oh, this jam, it's not enough. I want to make a strawberry candy. Okay, I'm going to have a strawberry candy. No, even that, it's not hardcore enough. I've got to distill it down even further. I'm going to have a strawberry Jolly Rancher. And then they said, no, even that's not enough. I want a strawberry Jolly Rancher flavored soda. And by the time you reach the end of this process, people really like the strawberry Jolly Rancher flavored soda. But if they actually picked up a regular old strawberry, they wouldn't recognize it. So what is this? This isn't.
And why is this simping again? He's about to say that men are the picky ones. I don't know, guys. Tell me about your standards. How high are they? I mean, do you expect like homemade bread from scratch? Are you guys expecting that? Do you even expect Sydney Sweeney level hot? Like, what would be good enough for you? What would be, they said very low. Says no standards at all. Someone said just nice to me. What are your standards? You know what I mean?
Enough. I don't even know what this is. You've distilled the essence of the thing down so far that it now bears very little resemblance to the actual thing that you started with. I was thinking about Baudrillard, not just because of our conversation with Vocal Distance, or not just because of hyper-reality, but Baudrillard wrote a book about seduction. And I think this helps to explain.
Now, this is the issue. When you get people that have been married for a long time and don't really know what's going on, they go to books for their sources instead of like real life. And they miss a lot. That's why the red pill has discovered things way before academia. Because like before the academics do, because they go on their real life experiences where a lot of these guys explain this stuff in the abstract.
And why people are confused.
You want me to get Karen of the Year? I'll take it. I'll take it. It's fine. Someone said Candace Owens. I don't think I could give myself the award. Yeah, anyway, let me know your nominations.
About whether or not Sydney Sweeney, who is manifestly a rather pretty lass, whether or not she's attractive. He wrote this book about seduction.
So think about this. He's finger wagging at the men and he's saying, find her attractive. You are not allowed to say she's mid. Find her attractive.
And he focused a lot of it on, he said, promotes female pleasure in so exaggerated a manner only in order to better bury the uncertainty that hovers over the black continent of femininity. He says that the female is a principle of uncertainty. He views being male as a principle of production. That's what lies at the essence of masculinity, of being a male. Go to goodranchers.com, use code Knowles.
I will not. Good Ranchers, sponsor me. Does anyone want to if you guys have a company and you want to sponsor the awards ceremony, I'll do it. I'll do Karen of the Year, Simp of the Year. I got to think of some other ones. Let me put them in the chat. Let me skip this ad though. There we go.
Chest hair sticking out. That what transvestitism is about is not so much the seduction.
Someone wants Matt Walsh to be nominated for Karen of the Year. Or the biggest fumble of the year. Who killed their career this year? Who tanked, right? Mine would be Lauren Chen, because I don't know what can tank it more than getting money from Russia. I mean, that's a pretty big L. Biggest L of the year.
Of another person as the seduction of signs and symbols. Just to bring it back down.
Oh, Destiny. Hawk Tua. That's a good one.
To Earth. We can see that kind of strawberry Jolly Rancher milkshake, hyper reality process taking place. The drag queen is so exaggerated a caricature of a female that the drag queen is almost unrecognizable from the female. Or what being a female actually is basically unrecognizable if you were to look at a drag queen. It's so exaggerated that it's just taken on its own kind of being. It's now divorced from the subject matter. With the Sydney Sweeney is hot debate, I think Baudrillard is really onto something. Even though he's a postmodern philosopher, he's really onto something here, which is that when people get really into any kind of hyper real distillation of something, they become perverts. Their tastes just become so weird. They need the Jolly Rancher flavored soda. They no longer want a strawberry. They no longer can even recognize a strawberry. A line from Baudrillard's Seduction, perhaps, is only an allegory, that is to say, a forcing of signs, a Baroque enterprise of over-signification touching on the grotesque. The obscenity itself burns and consumes its object. I think that's what this comes down to. If one cannot recognize that Sydney Sweeney possesses a kind of attractiveness, it is probably because one has so burned out one's sensors on, and I don't even just mean literal.
So he's saying, if you don't find Sydney Sweeney hot, you have burned out your sensors. Maybe she's just not their type. Maybe they like big booty Latinas, Michael. I don't know. Maybe they like the Asian women. Guys have different things they find attractive, just like women. But this would never happen if I said, and I'll say it, who's a guy celebrity I think is overrated? Okay, I can't think of any off the top of my head. I'm sure there's some, though, that I would say unattractive, not for me. And it really wouldn't be that big of a deal. And the men wouldn't find it that big of a deal. There wouldn't be an outcry, right? Like if I said, I'm not going to say it because he's pretty good looking, but like if I said Brad Pitt, unattractive, ugly, ew, gross, nobody would care. They would say, oh well. And Brad Pitt wouldn't freak out. He would not post, because Sydney Sweeney responded to all of this and posted pictures of her working out to, show the haters. Brad Pitt wouldn't respond. He wouldn't care. It wouldn't be this huge spectacle, but because Pretty Woman isn't that pretty, now it's World War III.
I mean, the overstimulation of our culture, the saturation with caricature and grotesquerie, the culture has become just so decadent that, you see this every year. There's surveys that come out about the top terms that are searched for, and they always become weirder and weirder and more grotesque. At a certain point, they don't even seem like they're connected to sex at all. I remember there was a Supreme Court case that came up. This was now 10, 15 years ago. And it was about a type of that involved just torturing kittens. And, viewer discretion advised. Well, certainly for that kind of, but even this discussion, it involved torturing poor little animals. And what was so striking about the case is it had nothing to do with sex. And yet it was it was this hyper-real, bizarre kind of perversion. And I think that's basically where the culture leads you. As a barometer, if you cannot find a glamorous Hollywood starlet of perfectly ordinary glamour, common glamour, but glamour nonetheless, attractive, something's gone wrong with your brain.
Yeah, if you don't find her attractive, something's wrong with you. They're always, always, always shaming male sexuality. Always. It's always the corn addiction. And the equivalent, nobody would care. But again, guys, I am fighting really hard on this simpedemic. I really have been fighting on the front lines of the simp epidemic for years. And I need to tell you about a quiet weapon being ratcheted up against men that is rarely talked about. It's not just the relentless anti-masculinity propaganda and OnlyFans hoes causing the societal issues we discuss on this show. Did you know that the average city's tap water contains trace pharmaceuticals and endocrine disruptors? This often includes estrogen from birth control. The average adult consumes a credit card worth of plastic every week. That's 5 grams of plastic a week on average. So it's no wonder that the average male's testosterone is half of what the average was 50 years ago. Testosterone levels decline 1% a year, and without a course correction, we are headed towards extinction. No matter how based you are, you need to be naturally boosting your testosterone. My friends at CHOQ.com are on a mission to save mankind from extinction by boosting your vitality. Chalk's Male Vitality Stack contains premium and potent herbs clinically studied to naturally boost your testosterone levels, sperm count, and overall vitality. Just one of the many ingredients in the Male Vitality Stack was studied in a double-blind human clinical trial to boost total testosterone 20% in 90 days. When you boost your testosterone, you'll have more mental clarity. You're more capable of making decisions and taking risks. Having high testosterone will also affect your pheromones, so women will find you more attractive subconsciously. Get the Chalk Male Vitality Stack right now on chalk.com. That's CHOQ.com. Use my name Pearl as your coupon code and you'll get 25% off site-wide on chalk.com. CHOQ.com. My name Pearl is the coupon code. Thank you guys. Okay, so next on the agenda. Now, this fight went even further into conservative Twitter. Now, as you guys know, we have this issue of the ladies tweeting their selfies to prove that they still got it. These will be, happily married women in relationships that need to prove to me or other members of the RP movement that they are still attractive. And it's really, really a sad thing, if I'm being honest. I can't imagine, living my life and going online and finding out my mother is arguing with some random red pill guys proving that she's still got it. So this woman named the redheaded libertarian, she has me blocked. Don't know why. She tweets her selfies. Now she says, if the Met, and she's saying, if the men find out that we can shape shift, they're going to tell the church. Now, this is a woman that makes money off the traditional conservative brand, right? Now, does this look like a modest married woman's selfie? By the way, I don't care. But it just makes it a little worse. It's like the boobs are clearly the focus. Cross necklace, heavy makeup. I'm not saying I don't think, I'm not a Puritan. It is what it is. I don't really care, but it's the inconsistencies, right? And it's the marriage is the solving of the problems with doing this. We're just like the worst marketing. Now, Nuclear Caudillo goes in and says, all women are catfishes. The question is to what degree? And this is, a picture from a video. Now, clearly she looks like two different people. And to prove that she still has it, she writes an essay. Wait, hold on. Let me find the first one. An essay trying to prove, here, I screenshotted it. She writes an essay trying to prove that she's still got it. Now, again, I don't care, but she says they always grab screenshots of me in the middle of a sentence to prove that I am ugly. I'm a public figure, you retard. Everyone knows what I look like. This is my interview with Matt Kibble from back in January, and everyone should check it out. I'm adorable here, by the way. Now I'm just thinking, remember, she's got kids, so think of little Jimmy at home. Now Jimmy at home is hanging out, and then he gets a phone call, and his phone call is from his friend Brad. Now Brad says, hey, did you see your mom on Twitter? She's arguing with this random guy trying to say that she's still hot. I just say send the asteroid. Please send the asteroid. It's over. And then she sent even more. She blocked me, so sometimes it's tough to get let me find the rest. Totally get the catfishing. Is the Adam's apple in your profile to prove you're a dude because you have a weak ass jawline suggests otherwise? I blocked you to cut off your views. Your reach on your post will drop tremendously now. You did earn about $3. I implore you to invest in help. Again, it's shaming male sexuality. It's saying, find me hot. This is what the ladies say. They say, I want to join the internet, right? And which is fine, right? I'm here. This is a fun time. We're having a great time. So they say, let me join. And their husbands, they're like, whatever. She's kind of annoying me. I mean, go ahead, dear, whatever. And they say, I want to join the part of Twitter that's the most contentious, where there's the most fighting, the most vicious. Totally fine. I'm here. I'm not judging it, right? I'm explaining what's going on. And so they say, let me march into the most contentious part of Twitter where everyone's arguing and let me go here. And then they say, find me hot. And if the men say, if the men say, meh, if the men say mid, then they get angry. And then they start yelling at the men and saying, find me hot or you have a corn addiction. I mean, she looks good for her age. She's pushing 40. I'm not hating. But it's just weird. It's very, and they don't know it, but these ladies are the worst marketing for marriage because the young guys are looking at this, right? And they're saying, okay, let me get married. And they say, oh, look at those. They say they're like conservative women. They look amazing. And then they see the conservative wives arguing with random men on Twitter. And they say, I don't know about this. Anyways, so we have very bad marketing right now. Now, as women, we have to understand that we're just not doing the greatest job of selling ourselves. We're in the news constantly for doing crazy things. An example of that is Lily Phillips. We've covered her like a million times this week, so I'm not going to go too far back. But, she's sleeping with 1,000 men in a day. And that's the marketing we have right now. Okay, I'm not saying every woman does that, obviously. But this is what's making the news. This is what's making the headlines. And by the way, it's only going to get worse. I don't see it getting better. Now, there's a recent trend where women are showing themselves with a boyfriend and with no boyfriend. And they essentially are marketing, again, that in relationships, they will look uglier. I mean, I don't know why we do these trends. I'm like, what are you trying to sell here? That you're going to look worse when the men start dating you? So this is a woman and she says boyfriend. That's her. No boyfriend. Now, I think it's like makeup, plastic surgery. I think she got a nose job. I think that's the biggest thing. Now, maybe a filter. I don't know. Then next we have this woman, right? Boyfriend? No boyfriend. And then the ladies come in, the trad women say, why don't the men want to get married? I mean, we're awesome. And then the other ladies are like, this is what you're going to get in a relationship. This is what you're going to get when I'm not. Oh, the Jesus cross. There, of course. Then we have another one here. Boyfriend? No boyfriend. I mean, she kind of looks the same, but What are we doing, ladies? This is the worst marketing campaign we've ever had. And we do it to ourselves. The men don't even have to negatively market. We get together and say, how can we dissuade men from being with us? How can we do the worst PR campaign humanly possible? And yeah, I mean, we just really outdo ourselves every month. And by the way, I just want to thank you guys because you ladies keep me employed forever. I will always have a job. I will always have, thank you so much, ladies, because you give me a plethora of things to cover. You know what? So I can't even be mad at you guys. I really can't. Okay, let me see if so the main topic of today is I am going to invite a woman onto my show who disagrees with me. We're a little ahead of schedule, so I'm going to check really quick. She's not on yet, right? Yeah, no, I didn't think so. I'm going to say you can come on now. I didn't think I would get if you can. Didn't think I would get here. But let me just react, I guess, while we wait to let's see what we got. Oh, actually, someone sent me. I'm going to react to something. If you guys have anything, send it to me on Twitter. I'm going to react to something one of my followers sent me. Let me see. There was a pretty good video. Where is it? Link here. I saw one which was okay, I guess I can't find it. Let's react to a Kevin Samuels clip. Just for good time's sake. I just think it'll be fun. Let's do it for, because he is the GOAT. Let's look at his best and savage moments.
With women or whatnot. So
so if you guys don't know, I'll tell you guys. I forget how many new people I have watching me. So Kevin Samuels had a call-in show where women would ask him for relationship advice. And this was partially how the manosphere became mainstream. But unfortunately, he was one of my main people I wanted to interview, but he passed away. I was really sad. But he was so funny. I used to love his show.
I guess he has trust issues with women or whatnot. So I'm sharing my location with him just to make him feel comfortable. Is that weird?
Have you had any therapy?
Yes, I have in the past.
You need to go back.
Oh my gosh, really?
You're already trying to make him feel comfortable 2 weeks into it.
Right.
That's too much proving to do. You're not his wife.
I'm just being nice and being
That's
hey,
not being no, it's not it's not being nice. It's being a people pleaser. That's not normal. That's not normal. You want to be nice? All right, let's go out a couple of times. I need you to give me $10,000. Be nice. Oh, be nice.
No.
I mean, come on, be nice. Be nice. I need $10,000, and we need to go ahead and run the Soul Train on you. Be nice.
No.
Of course. So there are things that sound crazy to you.
Yes. Yes.
Sharing your location with somebody you've gone out with twice is crazy.
Okay.
I give myself a solid 9.8.
What would you guys give her in the chat? She says a 9 point. Look at her face. A 3. He didn't even have to say anything.
Being pretty is not enough for a lot of men because I'm pretty and I'm still single. So,
what do you want?
I don't know. I really don't know what I want because these men, they don't know what they want. A lot of men don't know what they want in women.
And you said you're how old again?
33.
33. So regardless as to what men want, you don't know what you want?
I mean, I know what I want, but...
Well, what is that? Guys, remember the first thing I said about ego? They're not willing to be honest.
To be honest with you, I ain't gonna lie. I don't know what I want in a man. I've been screwed and fucked for so long, I don't know what I want in a man.
Just in this little bit of time of talking to you, it's been chaotic. I'm just asking you just the basic stuff about who you are and what you want. And the way you told the story is, yeah, you can't make this shit up, people.
To let you know, I have completely changed my life and made a 360.
The 360 puts you right back where you were, but I understand what you're saying.
I made a 180. I found Lord, and I got a man that's got money now. I rebuke.
You found the Lord?
Yeah.
Where'd you find him at? I didn't know he was lost.
I didn't know where the Lord was.
Okay. This is all inside of the last 4 months, right?
3 months, 4 months. Yeah.
It's a lot of changing in 3 or 4 months. You said you got a man that has money now.
Yeah. I do. I just wanted to let you know also, I wear my bonnet in public. I saw what you had to say about that. You know, I get where you're coming from, but at the same time,
You can't make this shit up. At the same time, you what?
Did you tell me shut up?
No. I said, go ahead. You said at the same time?
At the same time, I just don't see what the issue of wearing a bonnet in public is. I got married, but I don't want to be.
Oh, this was the worst one. Oh, I remember that.
You got married?
Yeah.
You currently married?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
No. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Ma'am. Are you trolling me?
No, I'm not.
A platform with 1 million folks actively talking about leaving your husband to get back with your ex.
Because he's high value, and I felt like.
And the reason you want to break your covenant with God and wreck your home of the pipe fitter guy is because the previous guy was higher value, meaning he earns more money?
Yeah, and his social status, how he looks.
What would the world say about that man?
It would say that this woman he got back with is the one he always wanted.
She belongs to the streets.
Yeah, this woman called into a show, said she was married and wanted her ex-boyfriend back, and her husband still stayed with her. It's a simpedemic, guys. It really is.
These, excuse my French, niggas alone, they always want to take me to court. Yeah.
What does that mean?
It means that it's like when I break up with a guy, I go through divorces because they can't take me leaving them in the dust, in the dirt, where I left them at. Because they don't act right. So I have to move on. Is that right? Do you think that that's right of them?
Why are you such a poor judge of character to pick me and you gotta leave?
Run that back, I couldn't really.
Oh damn.
No.
Oh damn. Why are you such a poor judge? No, ma'am. I listened to what you said. You came in and talk about how you feel like you're in divorce court because you got to leave these men in the dirt. And all I hear is you're a shit judge of character picking men because you don't leave quality men.
You absolutely right. So God, please stop sending me.
That's No, God ain't got nothing to do with it. No, God ain't got nothing to do with it. Please don't bring my God into this.
Please don't bring my God into this.
He couldn't have children anymore. And he was unaware of that. So I immediately divorced him because children was the outcome that I wanted to have. It is what it is. It is what it is. It was terrible. But like I told him from the beginning, I got married so we could have children. And then he found out he couldn't have children after we got married. So now I am actively looking.
Karma's a bitch. How do you know you're going to be able to carry children to term?
Exactly. I know. I do know that. It is terrible. I'm not, it is, I'm like I said,
I'm asking seriously, ma'am, it's not really a value judgment as much as I'm just trying to hold a mirror up to you because you say the shit you say to people around you and they let you believe this stuff. I'm telling you, as somebody who got no dog in the fight. How old are you?
35. Play in all types of arenas. I work in those arenas. I work in all of those.
Okay, how about this? Do me a favor.
Okay.
Talk to me like I'm 4 or a Cocker Spaniel, because you're not really saying anything. And you said you how old again?
I will let you guess.
I don't play these games. You either answer my questions or I'll bid you a good night.
43.
Okay. One thing I don't do is I don't do these things.
No,
I don't know you, so you've been married.
We all know this. Keep going.
Well, I will say this though: you've gone from 35 to 43, just like that. That's amazing.
I did, didn't I?
Yeah. Just crazy. I don't like liars.
Kevin Samuels was actually the GOAT. I miss him so much. I wish he didn't pass away. He was such a good. Lila Rose is doing a live stream on Lily Phillips right now. Lila Rose. I'm gonna bring up someone in a second, but I do want to see that. I guess that's for tomorrow, fellas. Okay. All right, so guys, so on Twitter, I gave a open call. I said, anybody that's got disagreements with me, you are welcome to call into my show and talk about our disagreements. I think this is really important because, if I'm going to say these things, I do want to back them up. And I did. There was a nice young woman who messaged me on Twitter and said that she had some disagreements with me. And I decided, why not? Let's do it at the end of a live show and we can go through them today. So today I have Keturah Hickman. Is that right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
You got it right.
I was like, I don't want to mispronounce this. Or Shagbark's wife coming onto the show. And she gave me a list of disagreements, but hi, welcome to the show. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. It's very nice to be on here and to talk to you.
So where have you seen my content before? Like, where have you mostly consumed it from?
I'm mostly on Twitter. I don't really watch a lot of YouTube.
Okay.
Mostly, I don't have a smartphone, so I get on Twitter a couple times a week on my laptop.
Okay. And where are you from? Like, what part of the country are you in?
Yeah, I was raised in the Midwest, and then when I was 16, my family moved to Montana.
Okay.
And now I'm married to a man who travels all over the states, but we're based in upstate New York.
Okay.
So I've been all over.
And you, if you don't mind, you said you grew up in a Christian cult?
Yeah, it's kind of considered a cult. It's kind of Protestant, kind of
Messianic. What do you mean kind of a cult? Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but I'm like
everyone would consider it a cult, and I kind of embrace that term just because it's kind of edgy and fun.
Okay.
But also I hate cults. I think it's a slur that people use against certain Christian sects just to disvalue like their beliefs.
Okay.
But so I embrace it, but we're definitely very niche. We're like ex-Pentecostal kind of Jew, but very Christian, but very into the Old Testament.
Mm-hmm.
But now my husband's Catholic, and I've had a lot of like frustrations with like Protestant Christianity a lot growing up anyway. So it was very easy for me to transition into Catholicism,
Mm-hmm.
even though I was raised in a very, very, very anti-Catholic sect.
Okay. I'm just curious, was your experience positive or negative? I know you're leaving, but was it
it was positive.
Okay. So
positive.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Because I was I like to compare our family sometimes to Jews because our beliefs are very Jew-like, even though we still accept Jesus as a savior.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, when a Jewish person is very, very like adamant in their faith, maybe like back in the old Torah days, but nowadays a secular Jew is like, yeah, I'm a Jew, but my faith is kind of secondary. Well, I was fourth generation in this kind of cult. So I was at the point where my faith was a great part of my life. Like I loved our traditions, but I didn't take it so seriously where I hated other people who believe differently than me. And I kind of was like, why do you take it so seriously that I believe differently than you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is just all traditions. We all believe in the same God and we believe in the same Messiah. So like, why do you hate me for how I dress or for how I eat? Like, that's just kind of crazy.
Is it similar to Amish? Like, I'm just curious. That's what I'm thinking of as you're talking.
Yeah. It's a little similar to Amish in that we had a lot of respect for the Amish and lived like the Amish. So we took a lot from them. And I grew up in dresses. I've never worn jeans.
I don't like jeans. Um, and I like believe in modesty. Well, I actually believe in femininity more than I believe in modesty. But I kind of believe in modesty too.
Okay. So you gave me a list of your disagreements, and you said it's important to know your audience and which group of women you're speaking to. I speak to actual traditional Christian teenage girls who aren't found in the Twitter sphere. Could you tell me a little bit more of what you meant by that point?
Yeah. So I feel like one of the things about your Twitter is I'll like be reading your Twitter and I'm like, oh, I agree with that, or I agree with that.
Mhm.
Oh, but she's saying all women are bad, even though I agree with this. And I know a lot of good women who would agree with this.
Mhm.
And it's like saying the right thing. Like in our circles, divorce is horrible. And
Mhm.
usually the people who file for divorce are usually women.
Mhm.
And like that's a terrible thing. And I
Mhm.
think that's bad. And in my circles, we speak out against that type of thing happening.
Mhm.
And so I guess part of the thing is like, I believe in speaking out against certain things that women are doing that are bad, but I
Mhm.
don't believe in like saying that all women are doing that thing blanket. Like
Yeah.
all women are doing that thing, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
so in order to talk about what's going on in society, I have to make generalizations.
Yeah.
I do try to say, like, not it's not every single woman, right?
Mhm.
I understand there's exceptions, but I don't think like, I don't know a single person that's from a Christian cult, for example. Like, I don't
Mhm.
think women with your upbringing are a significant majority in the United States.
You're
And
right.
where I have a little bit different of a perspective was I did a show where I interviewed women, and I would have 8 women at one point 6 days a week, where I would go in and we would do a panel show. Yeah, it was really crazy. I did this for 2 years.
Wow.
And what I would learn is a lot of these women were from very traditional backgrounds.
Okay.
So some were from I was in London, so it was very I did do the panels like in the United States too, but like the main show was in London. And I would find that many women would make the same decisions even if they were from like a very traditional Muslim country, for example. So, I know not all women do think like that. There are exceptions, but when I'm looking at general trends, like I'll give you another example. I collected data from like 75 like conservative women off of Twitter, and I
Oh
took
yeah,
the
I saw
data.
that video.
Yeah, and I took the data from like and I'm not saying one's right or wrong, right? But I took the data from like even male conservatives' wives, just to like conservative commentators' wives, just so I could be a little bit more fair. It's not just the public ones. And
Mhm.
I still found in terms of life decisions, they're all really similar. Like,
Mhm.
if kids are delayed for a decade, I have to assume you're on some sort of birth control,
Yeah.
like, and I'm not saying one's better or worse, but like that's kind
Yeah.
of how I came to that conclusion. Do you think that's wrong?
I don't think that's completely wrong
Mhm.
because so for instance, I write a lot on femininity and dressing like a woman and acting like a woman and submitting to your husband in a way that's like beautiful and good.
Mhm.
And I write against divorce. Like I don't think divorce should ever be an option, even in the case of adultery. I
Mhm.
think we're permitted to do that, but I don't think we should necessarily have it as an option still. What I find on like the traditional Twitter sphere from what I've seen, because when I first came to Twitter, I was like, wait, there's traditional people out there talking about traditionalism. This
Yeah.
is so cool because I grew up being hated for being traditional, but here people are doing it. And then I started to realize like these people aren't real traditional people. These
Mhm.
people are all fakes. They all converted in their 20s. Most of them weren't raised this way. A lot of girls who were raised this way, they get caught into like feminist type things because they don't like the idea of submission. I had a hard time with that as a teen too. There
Mhm.
comes a point where you're raised in something and then you have to make the intentional choice to actually like abide by it. And I saw a lot of my aunts didn't. Like my aunts are very different than my sisters and me. They made the choice to like divorce their
Mhm.
husbands and not be good mother. Well, they're
And
kind of
how
good mothers.
how
But
old are your aunts? I'm just curious.
yeah, my aunts are in their 30s and 40s, and
And
I'm 28. So I'm actually really close in age to some of my aunts, more than I am my cousins. I'm the oldest of like 50 or 60 cousins,
oh
and then
geez,
I
wow.
have like 30 aunts and uncles.
Okay.
So I have a lot of relatives. Yeah.
Yeah, so I hate to say it, but you're kind of proving my point a little bit because the challenge is, it's true we can say things like in our 20s, but
Yeah.
I always say, you put your money where your mouth is when the first like if we're going to
Yeah.
push to traditionalism, which I'm not saying
Mhm.
one's better or worse, but I'm saying
Yeah.
like if that's what you're pushing, like, where's the kids? Are you gonna pop out
My
1, 4,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, so my point is who we look to for our role models. So I don't look to my aunts as role models. I look to my grandmas who both stayed through very difficult marriages. Both of their husbands would probably be considered cult leaders. Like I'm not joking. Like both of my grandpas are probably legit cult leaders. But my grandmas have stayed loyal to them even though their daughters have begged them to divorce their husband, their fathers. They've
Mhm.
stayed loyal to them. My mom and dad, who are also the oldest of both their families. I'm also the oldest of my family. I have 11 younger siblings. Like, I just love
11?
my grandmas.
Wow,
They're
that's
my gran
amazing. 11
yeah, my
younger
grandmas
siblings.
yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of children in our family, but I look to my grandmas as an example, and also my mom. She's been with my dad for, like, I mean, longer than I've been born, so, like, what,
Mhm,
nearly 30 years.
mhm.
And my mom has been encouraged by many people to divorce her husband for, like, the most ridiculous reasons. And then I married, people all already at the start were, like, telling me, like, oh, when I first got together with my husband, like, basically, my husband and I were before we were even married, we were like, "We're not breaking this engagement off even." Like, we didn't even see like an option for breaking the engagement off once we decided to be engaged kind of thing. And people like tried so hard to separate us because of our faith differences. Of course, if you're like, I feel like if you marry a man who you respect and love, you become more like him,
Mhm.
which a lot of traditional women don't get. They still want to keep their own identity. They want to be feminist. They want to keep on wearing whatever clothes that they were raised in instead of actually learning to be more modest and more feminine. And so I think that's mostly the differences between what I'm saying between yours and mine. Like while you're saying true things, I'm like, how can we like look to that subset of women who are doing the right thing and look to them as role models? And what is it that they're doing right? And how are they submitting in a way that's beautiful and inspirational to
Yeah.
becoming more?
So what I'm not saying is that there aren't examples. I think it's better to look in your own personal life. Like there's someone I could think of that if I wanted advice from that I know personally that I would go to rather than the internet, right? But when
Mhm.
I'm talking, I'm trying to predict trends.
Oh,
And
yeah.
unfortunately, like you're kind of saying what I say, which is that women, we tend to be a roll of the dice. So if someone
Yeah.
picked someone from your mom's family, like your mom sounds like a lovely woman, right? But if they
Yeah.
picked your mom's sister, then they
Yeah.
would have had, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
there's no guarantees. And the sad thing is, like you're saying, men have to deal with the fact that everybody is telling us to leave, even
Yeah.
from, I mean, it sounds like almost Amish, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's not, I don't mean to be pessimistic, but I have to make predictions into the future. And
Mhm.
I don't see the birth rate going up, and I don't see traditional values getting better.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, right?
I guess that's actually a good point between like how I feel like my vision with what I do versus yours. Like you're more like you said talking about trends and predictions,
Mhm.
whereas I'm looking to like the few women who I think are actually like salvageable. I'm like, hey, I think that you and I should be buddies, and like this try to be better wives and better mothers, and like no matter like this ignore the static statistics. Let's not be one of the statistics. Let's this be that minority of women kind of thing.
Yeah, and so the sad thing is, the thing is when I interview women at different ages, you start
Hmm.
to see trends that's why I was kind of asking you like how old are you,
Hmm.
like you I feel the like light in your eyes still. You're very happy and bubbly, and that's very common with like young women, right? But then
Yeah. For,
the problem is there tends to be in their 30s a round of divorces, like you were talking about. And you
mhm.
see women that in their 20s were like happy and as bubbly and like, I'll give you a public example, but there's ones I know in my personal life too, right? Like Lauren Southern, do you know her? She might be
I don't.
she was a
Yeah.
very big right-wing commentator, and she left the internet to go be traditional, right? She like got married, left, and then 2
Yeah.
years later she comes back divorced and abused.
Oh, yeah.
The like makes it, and it's like
Mhm.
I see these things and I'm like, I can't not predict that most people will be statistics. I could say like Brett Cooper, for example, I think she'll stay married if I had to predict.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she still didn't take her husband's last name publicly.
Mhm. Oh,
So
which I think that definitely is kind of a bad sign.
it is a
Yeah.
bad sign.
Yeah.
And
I will
so
also say that there's a difference between Protestant traditionalism and Catholic traditionalism. This is what I've been seeing at least. In the Protestant circles, there's a lot of excuses made for divorcing on the grounds of abuse, whereas in Catholics, they're very anti-birth control and very anti-divorce, much more so than Protestant Christians are. And I wonder if maybe you've done a study in the difference between like a Catholic trad and a Protestant trad.
Yeah, I'll just give my anecdotal experience. I know
Mhm.
I don't want to misquote this to you, but I know
Mhm.
when they look at divorces, Catholics rate it isn't very different than the other.
Okay.
Maybe it's 10% less, but it's still significant. What they'll
Okay.
do, and this is kind of a common religious argument, is they'll say they're not like real. So they'll
Yeah.
say you're not real. If you're not praying once a day, you don't count. If you don't do this, you don't count, you know. And to
Mhm.
me, that's kind of like picking and shoot, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I
Um,
could say the same for Protestants. I could say that any person who's divorcing their husband isn't a sincere Christian, and I would probably believe that, like for the majority of women who are doing that.
yeah, but it's still tough for the men if they're picking wives at 20. They
Yeah.
don't know at 30 is she gonna still be a real Catholic? You know,
Yeah.
we don't.
Yes,
They can't know.
yeah.
But when it comes to just anecdotally growing up in Catholic, like I went to Catholic school, I didn't really see a big difference in the behavior.
Okay.
I would get, you know, I would say, you know, my producer's like very Catholic. He could tell you more about like the Latin mass community. Like they're a
Yeah.
bit more strict than
Yeah.
like the normal. You know, I'm sure you're probably in a Latin mass one, right?
Yeah, my husband's Latin mass. Yeah. We
Yeah,
go to both
you guys are
because
more, yeah, you guys are more serious than the, you know, but the worst divorce story I ever had, one of them was from a Latin mass community. Like I've done a lot of interviews of like men that went through really bad divorces. Probably the worst one was from he married a woman that like went to a traditional Latin mass.
wow.
So, you know, again, I don't try to like, you know, I really was happy I grew up with married parents. I was really happy we were Catholic, but I just
Mhm.
don't see that as a guarantee for 20-year-old men today. Does that make sense?
Mhm. What do you see as a guarantee? I guess that's maybe another thing that I wonder, like, are you just predicting trends or do you also hope to see men find success and happiness?
I don't see anything as a guarantee. I think there's no guarantees in life.
Okay.
I follow incentives. So as long as people are getting paid for being fake Christians on the internet, I think we're always going to see it. The
That's
problem
true.
is as long as women are paid to leave their husbands and their children or and
Mhm.
take the children, I don't think it'll stop.
Yeah, that
S
makes sense. Yeah. I think I also like wrote a little bit back because like I think one of the I did watch like two of your videos
Mhm,
on like divorce and stuff. And like one of the things I noticed was you said that women are more likely to divorce than men are,
mhm,
and that women have more of an ego. And I actually I guess I believe that because I believe that all human beings are fallen and
mhm,
like both man and women are like, you know, sin like have sin in them since they were born. That like both men and women have an ego. But whereas a man's ego is gonna make him like watch out for his public personality, his public like um respectability. You know, he wants to be respected in the public eye, and he's more respected if he has a wife who's staying with him and he has children who's staying with him. Whereas a woman, she might find respect more if she's on her own and she's like, "Look at me, I'm doing my thing on my own, and I don't need no
mhm,
man," kind of thing.
mhm,
And I think that there's ego in both ways, and sometimes an egotistical man is not necessarily um, he's not necessarily motivated to take good care of his wife as long as his wife is staying with him. He might like incur like use abuse or whatever to make her stay with him. Whereas a woman who's egotistical might like, you know, file lawsuit against her husband, take everything that he owns. It's still abuse on
mhm,
both sides. Like she's taken all of his financial stability and he's
mhm,
taken, you know, all of her personal security. But there's like still like these egos. But in a good marriage, there's no ego. A man is actually providing and protecting his wife, and a woman is submitting to him and helping
mhm,
him with his dreams and staying loyal to him. And neither of them are worried about their ego or their
mhm.
like their public persona.
So the reason I think women have more egos is I think social media has like given us um delusion basically where we even like I don't know if you were watching the show earlier, maybe not, but I covered a woman. It's totally fine. I covered a woman who like she's using filters, right? And she's arguing with men on the internet that she's still hot. It was just weird.
Oh,
But
yeah.
they like I think the women they get such attention from the filters that and like the fake hair, the fake, they don't dress like you dress very modestly, but if you were to not do that, you would get attention from very high level men, right? Even like anyone, anyone
Yeah.
that So um
I would call it the sin of vanity. I think women
yeah.
suffer with vanity more than men do, and men suffer with like actual pride and egotism more than women do. I mean,
Well,
it's both the same thing, but
mhm.
there's like a kind of a different brand. Like vanity is much more an extreme sin for women.
Well, my point is more I don't think we deal with reality until our looks start to fade. Because the world gives us so many opportunities that men they're just told they suck from a young age and that
Yeah.
humbles them a little bit.
I have 7 brothers, so I also do see the difference between how like women and men get treated like in the public sphere.
Yeah.
It's I get really frustrated with. I mean, my 2 brothers just under me are now married, but they have had horrible dating experiences. I also had horrible dating experiences before I met my husband, but girls can be were quite mean to my brothers. I will say that. Like it was kind of sad,
Yeah.
but yeah, I hated it. I think that's another thing that too that's like encouraged my sisters and I to be like like honest with the men who pursued us. We were like, we didn't want to be like the girls who were mean to our brothers,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. What was the third one? You said women are more there is a subset. Okay, I think that was kind of the first one. There are a
Yeah.
subset of women who would never dream of divorcing their husbands, even in the case of adultery. How do we find these women and how do we raise the numbers in a healthy way? Like just from interviewing people, sorry, I'm going to read this one more time because I think I was kind of mumbling. So, her third point, guys, was statistically, women are more likely to file for divorce. However, they're a subset group of women that would never dream of divorcing their husbands, even in the case of adultery. How do we find these women and how do we raise the numbers in a healthy way? So, I think that the reason red pill content came out, I don't know if you know too much of the history of it.
Just barely. Yeah.
Well, it was men in forums trying to solve their problem. So they would say, "Hey, my wife wasn't sleeping with me." And the other
hmm
men would say, "Hey, try this, see if this works. Try this, see if that works." So
hmm
I think, if there was a way to do that, men would have figured it out. I just
Oh, I
think
see.
there's no guarantees and just like, the men 15 years ago or 20 years ago with your mom and your aunts, it was a roll of the dice which sister to pick, right?
hmm
They
Yeah.
got one and they got complete loyalty and they got another and they got divorce. Like one,
Yeah.
it sounds like it had an amazing life and I think you could probably see that in the differences like in any family. I think you can notice like differences. So,
Yeah.
um
I think it's a little bit predictable on the individual. Like I think a lot of boys they see a pretty girl and they don't look at her values or and the words she's saying and they just marry her for her looks.
that's
And so
true.
for men it's often the role of dice, but if our brothers have asked us sisters, "Oh, which girl should I go for?" And us girls are like, "Oh, that girl's bad news." And then they date her and then we're like, "Well, we kind of told you so." Of going after a girl like my one brother he just married a girl who was one of my sister's friends and my sister kept being like, hey, you should just date this girl, she might not be as pretty as the other girls, though
Mm,
she actually is pretty, but at first glance she's like a very conservative girl, and and my sister's just like, go for this girl, she's a little shy, but this is the girl who's going to stick with you. And
mhm.
my brother was like that, and I think that's one way that we can help men is if men have trusted female friends, especially ones who are already married. We know if if a woman's going to be like a submissive, loyal wife, and if she's going to be like telling her husband like no sex or like doing all these types of things, because it's women who like tell each other things like who give each other this type of encouragement and this type of advice that of like, oh, like you shouldn't be like using as a sex as a bribe, you should be like loving your husband through all things, and like
Mhm.
like there are whole books written on this for women that women either choose to read or choose to reject or hear from other wiser women. Like my grandma, she gave me excellent marriage advice that I took. My aunts also gave me bad marriage advice, but I had to choose who to listen to.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, what women are choosing to listen to is the OnlyFans, right? That's what's going
They
up in numbers crazy, unfortunately. I do think that men are blinded by beauty a lot of the times. I do agree with you. There are times, and when I was interviewing men that were completely wrecked by a divorce, there were times where I would interview someone and say, yeah, of course she was going to do that. Like, obviously. But then there were times where the woman changed. She got into the wrong friend group and she sort of changed. She started watching there's whole websites dedicated to convincing women to like rationalize leaving their husband and convince them that they're there's just so much working against everything that it takes a really strong woman like yourself, to go against it. And I just, if I'm a betting woman, I don't think there's enough wives to go around. And the other challenge you get is the wives that are there have so many options that sometimes it ruins them too.
Yeah. No, it's an intentional thing. I myself, over the course of my 20s, because I'm getting closer to being 30 at this point, and I've had like a lot of ups and downs through my 20s, being single for like most of that, and there were moments where I was like, I never identified as a feminist because I like hated that term ever since I was a kid, but there were moments where I saw myself becoming more feminist minded, or I would be like, I ran a really successful business for a few years and I felt very like empowered through that. And so I had to like think about these words in a way, because like, what does it mean for a woman to be empowered in a way that's actually healthy for her long term? How do I continue to keep myself vulnerable and feminine, even when the world is trying to make me something that's not vulnerable and feminine? And these things were difficult things. And I went through periods where I like almost was like the red pill woman, who hated men kind of thing. And vice versa. I don't know if that's a term or not, but you know what I mean? And
No,
so like I would have to literally like put myself in this mindset and be like, okay, for these next 5 months, I'm only going to wear dresses that have flowers on them instead of wearing my more practical, sturdy dresses. Or I'm only going to or every time a man asks me out, I'm going to say yes. Because I went through a phase where I said no to a bunch of men. And I was like, wait, this is probably not actually good for me or for them. So I started like giving men like, for a 5-month span, I went out with every man who asked me out. And then if I felt like I didn't see it going in a good direction, I would give them kind feedback, like I would want girls to do for my brothers, kind of thing. That's my husband.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah.
And but I think that's what it boils down to, is that it is true that any woman can be corrupted by her friend group or by the world around her, or by her experiences. And that's why she has to like remain intentional and focus on God and focus on beauty and focus on what it means to be a woman in order to combat how easy it is to fall into like a dark side of feminine nature.
Yeah. And I totally agree. But my point is, it's in everybody. And so even like women, like you seem, very like you seem like you'd be a green flag, but even you're capable of falling too.
Oh
Right?
yeah, I'm capable. We're all capable, but yeah.
Exactly. And the challenge is men just have a lot to lose nowadays. And some men are just going to say it's not worth the risk, right? Not all. Like your husband, he said worth it, but that's just not every guy.
I will say though, for the men, like my husband says his life is completely different, and I know my life's completely different. We both feel changed by marriage, because there's something in you that if you're doing it with God at the center of it, and like you literally are doing it out of a sense of love instead of out of a sense of, oh, my needs first kind of thing, it's such a beautiful thing, because we both become a better version of ourselves. And it's not healthy for men to hate women any more than it's healthy for women to hate men. We're both made to love each other and to be loved by each other.
Yeah. So the challenge with marriage, the challenge I have is I know with every 100 men that get married, there will be a percentage that commit suicide. There will be. There's no like if, ands, or buts. The suicide rate rises at around the age of 45, which men, that's around the age they get married. It's either 40 or 45. Can't remember off the top of my head. I just can't morally push it. I'll give you an example. There's a woman or a man I just interviewed the other day. He's around 60 years old. And he was just put on alimony for his wife, they had 6 kids. They adopted 3. She divorced him when they were teenagers. I'm sure at your age, they felt the same way you did. They were both Christians. At 60, she changed her mind. And now he has to put off retirement until he's 75. That's almost slavery, right?
Yeah.
I don't wish that. I hope that's not you. I hope that's not anyone I talk to, but I just can't not look at the stats and like I would feel bad if I pushed that someone did it and then they end up enslaved to a woman for 18 years.
Yeah.
Another example, and I get messages from men telling me that they chose that because they thought it was the right thing because of their religion and how much it messed up their lives. Like Steven Crowder is another example, and I use him a lot. Yeah. But, you
Yeah, I
know,
know that story. That's a terrible story.
and she was a virgin bride.
Yeah.
And, you know, they went through a terrible divorce. He was giving her $30,000 a month. I mean, I'll take a slap for $30,000 a month.
Yeah.
And he wasn't hitting her, but I'm just saying, you know.
Yeah.
So it's I just can't be blind to it. And I know there's winners and there's people it really works out for. But, you know, the men are going to look at it and think, well, what do I get out of marriage that I don't get out of a girlfriend?
Yeah.
And feedback I've gotten from men is a lot of times when they get the ring and the behavior gets worse. So they're thinking, why don't I just not do that? You know?
Yeah, and that's a good question for women to consider too, because they should make sure that whatever they're giving their husband after they get the ring is just as good, if not better, than before they get the ring. No, I think that's a fair criticism.
Yeah. Well, it's, you know, I try not to say should. I used to say it a lot. Like I can't say this one phrase because it got me kicked off of YouTube, but women, you know, like the voting stuff, I can't talk about that on YouTube anymore. But it should is just like a wish list. It's still not a prediction. Like saying women should do this, like they're not predicted to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's an individual thing. You can't make women all be good mothers and wives. It's something that a woman needs to decide on her own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can I tell a real trad from a LARPer? Was that so? You said they can't represent trad culture because they weren't raised in it and aren't intuitively traditional. Likewise, most women purporting to be conservative online aren't actually conservative. However, this doesn't mean that true traditional women don't exist. Who are they? What are they? What do they look like? How can I tell a real trad from a trad LARPer? So I'm under the belief that there's no traditional women anymore. And the reason I think that is because women always have the upper hand. So like, if men, you know, right now in a marriage, men have no way of enforcement. So if she says, I want to leave and I want to steal your kids and your money, she ultimately has the upper hand because she has the leverage. I think the only way you can be in a traditional marriage is if somehow the men have the leverage.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess I would partially disagree because a lot of women who are actually raised in fundamental traditional homes are usually terrified of divorce because their entire communities would shun them and cut them off. The Amish are a great example in this. I know there's some divorces that happen in the Amish, of course, but still the rate of divorce is much rare. I've never known. I know a lot of Amish. I've never known an Amish person to get divorced unless they become like ex-Amish.
I will give you the Amish. I'll give you the Amish. Fine, they can count. Sorry, I'll give you the Amish. Go ahead.
Have you also heard of Debbie Pearl? She and her husband wrote a book on marriage and divorce, and I know that whole circle of people. And there are several people in their orbit who have gotten divorces, but they're considered like the black sheep of those communities. And like Debbie Pearl and Nancy Campbell both. I don't know if you know those women. They're very controversial people. Christian women actually, like modern feminist type Christian women, actually hate them because these two women speak out against divorce. These women have been married for like 6 or 7 years and have each raised like 6 to 8 children. And they're based out of Tennessee, but there's a whole group of Christians in that area that mostly dress modest, that would not get divorced under any circumstances, including adultery. And where if the woman left, she literally would lose her siblings, her parents, her family, and her she would lose everything. So she might get some money from her husband, but her husband's already pretty poor to begin with because people in these.
What religion are they? They're in Tennessee, and they're what?
They're evangelical Christian, so a little bit Pentecostal. It's really hard. They're not a specific denomination. They're their own brand. Christianity,
Um,
but evangelical.
I would be very surprised if there was no divorcees in there. I would be really
There are divorces, but they're the black sheep of their circles, and no one gets.
I would have to, if they're not Amish, I would sort of have to. I'm welcome. I'm open to going, but I would sort of
Yeah,
have to see it to
yeah,
believe it.
yeah.
Because what I would need to see from those communities is women getting married around the age of 22, where they're
Hmm.
dedicating their youth and having children young.
Yeah.
I
Most
you Go ahead.
most of these girls in these communities get married between the ages of 16 and 18. And so in my circles, I didn't get married until I was 27, and
Mhm.
everyone thought I was never going to get married because if you're not married by the time you're 22 or 23 in my circles, it's like, oh, there's something wrong with you,
Mhm.
or maybe like you're too intimidating for men, or the bunch of different reasons why
Mhm.
I wasn't married by the time I got married. But like all my friends were married between the ages of 16 and 20.
Mhm.
And
Well,
in my friend
mhm.
group, I had like 30 bridesmaids in my wedding. And in
Wow.
my friend group, I
That's
have
crazy.
one
That's a
friend who's
lot.
divorced.
You had
Yeah, a
what?
lot of friends. I had one friend who's divorced in my friend
Mhm.
group, and all of us disapprove of her divorce. I told her the whole time she was doing wrong. Her parents told her she was doing wrong.
Mhm.
Everyone told her she was doing wrong. And it's turned out that because she just divorced him for mental abuse,
Mhm.
right? It wasn't for anything that was actually like legit.
Yeah.
Her sons now have a terrible life, all this stuff. But the point of it is that in our circles, she's a minority. She's not the person who is being applauded for this or is a majority.
But I would still say it's a prediction because it sounds like your
Yeah.
friends are around 30, right? They're 28 to 30.
At this point, yeah, most of them have been married. Most of them have like several kids and have been married for about
Yeah.
10 years or so.
The average age of marriage is you see where okay. You see women if they're going to put their money where their mouth is, what they do when they're done having children. So typically
Mhm.
women divorce when the youngest kid they want to have is in preschool.
Mm.
So I don't know how many kids they're having, but I
Large
really
family.
wouldn't. What?
They all want large families, lots of kids,
Yeah.
and homes.
Yeah, and the thing is, I've just seen too much, and like the women that have a lot of kids, they do divorce. They just do it a little bit later. It's like after not always, right? I'm sure there's some that are gonna stay. I would be
Yeah.
surprised if they're that different than the statistics. Maybe
Oh,
10% different, but
yeah.
I'd still guess that a third of them will divorce at some point.
Yeah. I think my friends are the exception, but I'm just biased.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, I hope they are, right?
yeah.
But
Hmm.
I gotta be honest when
Yeah.
I'm not trying to lie or like, it's
Well, I
just,
know from your perspective, you're reading statistics, right? So I understand that. But
yeah.
yeah, I understand that for sure.
What is I don't watch Breaking Bad, so I didn't really
Oh,
understand the Breaking
oh
Bad.
yeah. So I just thought this was a really fun thing because um, it's a TV show that my husband and I recently watched together, and neither of us are really into TV, but he was like, "This is a TV show we have to watch," and
Mhm.
it's about this man who is this high school teacher, and he's diagnosed with lung cancer. Is that what it was, Andy? Lung cancer. And anyways, he decides that he's going to start making meth
Okay.
because he wants to provide his family this whole hoard of wealth before he dies. And it basically goes into this idea that it's a man's duty to provide for his family, what
Mhm.
at any cost. So is it actually morally good or bad for him to like make meth if he's not using meth and he's just selling it to people who'd already be doing it anyways? And anyways, he perfects his like most perfect line of meth, and he gets involved in all this like really scary stuff. And like halfway through the series, his wife ends up finding out what he's up to and like where all this money is coming from. And she's pretty freaked out, but she doesn't really support him very. Like she basically liked him when she thought he was like this,
Mhm.
socially good person who
Mhm.
abided by all the rules of society. She didn't like that he wasn't making as much money as she thought he was, but now that he's making all this money from meth, she's not really sure, but she wants the money. And
Mhm.
so it's like she files for divorce, but she still wants the money. And anyways, as the series goes on, Walter like loses the very thing he was fighting for, which was his wife and his children,
Mhm.
because he loses their respect and they just hate him because he made meth. But they can't see that he did it for them because society has purported this idea that it's a man's duty to provide for his family at any cost. Like, does that exclude making meth? it's like it like brings up these really great like moral questions about like how society views a man's duty to his family
Mm-hmm.
and how a family like goes with that. Well, there's a sequel series called Better Call Saul, and it's about this lawyer who is morally corrupt, and he does all this crazy stuff. And he's got this girlfriend who's a really good girl. She's a lawyer also, and she's like really made a success out of herself. But really, all she wants to do is like not really because she doesn't say it because like the thing to say is to be a feminist and like have a job and a career. But all she really wants to do is be a wife and mother. Like it's kind of obvious through the series.
Mm-hmm.
It gets to the point where Jimmy, the lawyer, becomes so morally corrupt that he gets involved with this guy who's selling meth, and he helps him sell even more meth.
Okay.
And a friend of theirs dies, and Kim gets to this point where she's like, "I love you, but I'm leaving," and so she like goes to another state and doesn't support anything. But then when Jimmy goes to prison and gets out, is in prison, she goes and visits him, and she's like the person that stays with him through this time because now that he's like in his time of recovery, she's there and she's going to be the one that sticks by him.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when Walter was in his hard moment, his wife turned on him and left him,
Mm-hmm.
but Jimmy's woman actually stayed with him throughout the whole thing. And I think it's two really good examples for modern men of a woman who like isn't going to stick with you through thick and thin, but she still wants you to abide by society's rules.
Mm-hmm.
And the woman who kind of wants you to abide by society's rules, but she really wants you just actually to do what's right by your neighbor. And if you don't do what's right, well, then she's going to separate from you.
Mm-hmm.
Like both couples were legally married.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's going to separate from you, but then once you go back to doing what's right, she's going to come back. She's going to be there for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought it was a really beautiful example of like two different couples that were middle class, normal American couples.
Yeah. Sorry, the cynic in me. I think that the women would be more interested when they found out their husband's selling meth. And the reason is because I see what happens with Luigi's shooter.
Yeah.
You know, the women have him on like t-shirts now, and they were saying like,
yeah, it's kind of weird. Yeah.
You know,
I think it depends on the age group. Maybe middle class women would be horrified if their husbands were selling meth. Maybe not.
The way I would actually analyze that is when women go for security and they go for excitement, right? So that's why when we go for, you know, the celebrities, the like drug dealers in this case, and then women go for the safe guy. And I think when women think they have the safe guy and he starts doing the exciting guy things, that like it, then they get mad, they leave, you know?
Okay. That actually could also be a fair analysis of that thing because Sky was definitely into Walter because of him being safe. Whereas Kim liked Jimmy because he was exciting, but then she realized that it was not actually good for either of them, and it was like kind of a bad thing.
Yeah. It was speaking without a narrative, how to talk about, I can't say I can't say that on YouTube. I can't make certain generalities about women on YouTube, but I'll try to let people read between the lines without saying it. How to talk about women being live backwards in a way as to promote goodness in women. Okay. So you're essentially saying that I need to say it in a different way?
Well, I guess it just depends on your point. If your point is to promote, it seems like your audience is mostly men, whereas my audience is mostly women. So when if you're going to have a narrative, I guess, like your narrative needs to promote something or another. Like my narrative is to promote more goodness in women and more loyalty and more submission and more beauty. So therefore, I might talk about how like women are inclined to do all these bad things, but let's not do those bad things. And this is how we get away from doing those bad things. Whereas it seems like you're mostly talking to men, so maybe you make it clear that if women get mad at you, you're like, well, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to men. If you don't want to be the statistic, don't be the statistic, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it sounds like you're in like a coaching type of business. You might coach women.
Oh, I don't have money what I do. I just have a Substack and I write articles about like why men find dresses more attractive than jeans, and why it's good to be more like I just like write basically from the Bible, from scripture, and from tradition why these things are good for women to do, and how it can create a better spirit in us, and all these different things. But yeah, I don't make money from it.
Well, it sounds like maybe it's like religious content, or it sounds like it's Like if I was to read your article, I would say, oh, maybe I'm wearing jeans today. Oh, maybe I'll wear a dress, right? That would be like the end game of it, right? To improve
Kind
women. Yeah.
Not so simplified as that. I mean, I do employ a lot of generalities too, which I get a
Mhm.
lot of hate for too. But it's a little bit more nuanced than that. I'm not going to say that a woman who's wearing jeans isn't a real woman. I
Mhm.
might sometimes say that, like maybe if a woman wants to be feminine. And I guess one thing I get a lot of hate for, especially recently, is I'll be like, conservative women, why do you hate it when men wear dresses when you wear jeans? Like, isn't that hypocritical?
That's a
Like, as
good.
women,
I do wear jeans, but that's a very good comeback.
yeah, it's like we shouldn't be hating people for something that we're doing ourselves. It's all
Yeah.
cross dressing. So I'm not going to allow my sons to wear dresses. I'm also not going to allow my daughters to wear jeans. And
Mhm.
like, let's be consistent in our ideology and not just hate people for no reason
Yeah,
whatsoever.
totally. But so I do think there's self-improvement niches, but
Hmm.
that's just a different niche. Like when I do my show, I'm trying to predict trends, say where this is going, and point
Hmm.
out gynocentrism. So I'm pointing out like the worship of women. Like
Hmm.
so that's really my point, is just to point out where it's going. I think self-improvement, like I would never tell men how to date women, for example, or where to, because I don't date women. That's not my niche,
Hmm.
So your stuff, it's just a different niche, right?
Yeah, and I think that's fair to distinguish from. Like, I specifically speak to teenage girls. Like, interact with teenage girls and email them. And basically, like when I was a teenage girl, I wanted someone as a role model
Hmm.
that wasn't divorced, that had a happy marriage, that like dressed in a way that I thought was beautiful, not just slovenly.
Hmm.
And so basically, I'm trying to be for teenage girls what I wanted as a teenage girl, and I'm
Hmm.
encouraging other women to also be for younger women what they wish that they had as a role model when they were younger.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't
Yeah.
think there's anything wrong with that. I have a very good friend, her name's like Maggie, and she does femininity content, and it's really great, and I like have gone to a couple of her events. That's just
Oh,
not I'm just not in that niche. I wouldn't feel I guess like I just would that wouldn't really be what I would do. Like I think there's better women like other women can learn from. I wouldn't really point to me. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Yeah.
That
Like I'm
makes
like you
sense.
guys
Yeah.
there's better women. Women need and I don't mean that as a dig at myself. I just mean I think there's like
No,
better role models that can do that.
it's good to know your vocation.
Yeah.
The difference.
Women without a narrative. Oh, women need men. Men also need women. This can be beautiful if we make it a dance instead of a war. We learn to submit so it's a gift instead of a kink. So I don't think men need women. I really don't.
Mhm.
I think that it can be helpful to them. So I'll say Elon Musk as an example. I think that regardless of if he had women, he was going to build rockets and just do really awesome things, even if he never gets married forever. Trump's been married 3 times. I think it's been great for him to like that he met. I love Melania. I think she's amazing. I'm like a big fan. But
Mhm.
I think that successful men that are on a mission are going to do it regardless of if we're there. And a lot of times, what I see is women take the credit for their husband's success when I think
Mhm.
that he was going to do that anyway. And
Yeah.
you can be an asset, and the women that are assets, the men have no problem saying how awesome you were. But
Mhm.
I think if like women were really known for being assets, then men would be lining up to get married, and they're
Yeah.
just not.
Yeah. So I disagree with this for I think 3 reasons. And I think
Okay.
it's all is based on whether or not like you accept religion and Christianity. But the first one is like I believe that God created Adam and that Adam was like, the ruler of the earth and of creatures and the steward of the trees and the animals and all that. But he was lonely and he was incomplete without a helpmeet. Therefore God made him a woman. He needed a woman. If Adam hadn't had a woman, Adam would not have been quite as fulfilled in the same way. And of
Mhm.
course, there's the whole like story of the fall, whatever. But then we go further to the Proverbs 31 woman, which is the ideal woman. She's not ideal because of all these reasons. The main reason she's ideal is because of what she does quietly and behind the stage. Her husband receives glory for it. And I think a lot of women mix this up. They think, oh, well, because I'm behind my husband, I'm receiving the glory through him. No, you're not receiving the glory through him. Your husband receives glory because you're setting the stage for him. And I would go further to say that men like Elon Musk and Donald Trump, while they are receiving glory and we don't see the woman behind them, I would say that there are women behind them that we don't see, and those women are doing their jobs very well because we don't see them. If you see a woman and she's receiving as much glory or more glory than her husband, she's doing her job incorrectly.
Mhm.
And you see a man who is getting a lot of glory, I assume usually that there's a woman behind him and she's doing her job correctly.
So
That's just
I more look to I'm not overly religious, so I do believe in God, but I'm not a Bible scholar. I don't argue religion. But I would more look for, it's better for a man to be alone than with a quarrelsome wife. And
Yeah.
if I statistically look at the market right now, we're looking at women that have been on social media from the time they're 12. On average, they have $35,000 in debt. This sounds nice, but if we go through the numbers, so they're irresponsible with money, right? They're overweight. The average woman gains like 20 pounds in the first 5 years of marriage, and we're already overweight. So it's I just think that, and the general perception of men is saying that women are not easy to date or get along with. I think maybe back then they were helpful. In 2024, I see more women destroy men than I see actually support them for a lifetime.
Yeah.
I think that one's more common than the other. Maybe it's maybe we're in end times. I don't know, but I can't. I can't not see what's right in front of me because I want to. Like the religion, like that sounds nicer what you said, but I just have to be honest with what I would predict.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair distinction. And you are right that the majority of the proverbs scattered throughout the proverbs are, oh, it's worse to work like a quarrelsome wife or a nagging wife is worse than a dripping faucet, or it's worse than being alone. Like that's
a dripping
lot of
faucet. That's funny.
And it's not like, yeah, it's dripping faucet. It's worse than a dripping faucet, like a woman nagging. It's like, oh, dripping faucet. Like that's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And you keep hearing this throughout like the first 30 chapters of the Proverbs, and you don't actually get a picture of what the perfect woman is until the last chapter. First, you're like, watch out for this woman. Watch out for this woman. Like these are all the women you should be watching out for. There's a lot of bad women to be watching out for. But the ideal woman, she's like making sure that your home is a place of industry and is beautiful and things are being produced and things are happening. And in fact, she's so resourceful and so industrious and so reliable that you can sit at the city gates and gossip and gab and smoke with your friends, and you don't have to worry about what she's doing back at home because she's taking care of everything, and she's doing it so well that while you're sitting there at the gates gabbing with your friends, they're giving you glory because your wife is like not bringing any shame to your home. Like that is what the ideal woman does. And unfortunately, we don't see that very much in society. And women also hate the image of the Proverbs 31 woman, I think, because they want to justify their gabbing and their nagging and their quarreling. Like women want to justify all that. But at the end of the day, like it's very clear that the ideal woman is someone who is setting the stage, setting the home, making everything comfortable and cozy, making sure that her husband feels supported and loved all the time, and not in a way just for bribing and for getting what she wants, and so she can have access to credit cards, et cetera, et cetera. The funny thing is my husband actually just posted something on Twitter, I want to say like 2 days ago or so. Mm-hmm. Basically, he was just bragging about me. And he was saying how like, oh, you need to find a woman who's like going to stick with you for thick and thin. And like, here's some like litmus test things. Like, is she willing to eat roadkill with you? Is she willing to embrace poverty with you? Mm-hmm. Is she willing to like, deny worldly success and wealth? And is she like willing to do all these things? And people got so mad and they're like, it's okay for me to want to be a princess and for me to be taken care of. Like he wasn't saying that he makes me suffer. My husband does not make me suffer. Mm-hmm. But he knows at the end of the day that like if we go through anything hard, I'm not going to leave and be like, oh, well, mm-hmm. you're not making enough money, so like this is over. Like that's like that's not how it's.
And the challenge is we don't actually know that at this point. And I don't mean I'm gonna like I want to give you every benefit of the doubt, and you seem very nice. I don't think you would. But we can't even his list, we can't mm-hmm. even know right now if it's right because you guys have been married 2 years?
About a year, and of
Yeah.
course, I've done all these things before him because my family grew up eating roadkill and stuff, so that's why
Yeah.
he uses that as an example,
And
but
I'm sure many men would love to date a near Amish woman. Like, I'm sure guys in the chat, would you near Amish? I mean, they, but it's just not.
I lived
Sorry, go ahead.
I lived for 3 years, so I was almost Amish for 3 years.
Yeah. But that's just not the norm. And that's
Mm,
not like most men can't really expect that.
yeah.
And just like anecdotally, I could maybe think of like a couple women that fit the description. I just don't think it's really the norm, you know?
Yeah. I guess I gotta come back on when I'm 35 and then when I'm 60, and
Yeah,
then we'll have
well, the problem is we look at the divorce rate of people that are 60 and it's pretty high.
yeah, it's actually really sad. We just met this, and I hate to be validating your points, but we just met this man in, Madawaska, Maine. Oh, he was the most sweetest man we'd ever met, and he was, like, what, 90 years old? And he'd been married to his wife, who they had 10 children together, and
Mhm.
they've been married forever. And he decided it was time for him to retire because he'd been working for his entire life at this factory. And his wife wasn't ready for him to retire. And she's like, if you retire, I'm going to divorce you. And he's like, oh, you got to be kidding. I'm retiring. I'm done working because he was past the retirement age.
Yeah.
He might have been like 70. I don't remember how old he was, but he was definitely way past 60. He was like in his 70s or 80s.
Mhm.
And so she filed for divorce and he lost everything. And like that far into his marriage, and that is really, really tragic. Like, I mean, stories like that, I feel like maybe it's your job to predict them and it's my job to like speak out against them because like that's just like not right. And I don't
Yeah.
think there's any way to justify that.
And you can't stop it either.
Mhm.
Yeah, when a woman wants to divorce, there's nothing. Unfortunately, there's just let's just say, and you guys have your kids, you have an amazing family in 10 years, you want a divorce. Uh, the government will assist you, the police will assist you, the media will, even like if you get shunned from your community, it's pretty
Mhm.
easy for women to restart in a new city, download a dating app, marry a guy, new community.
Yeah.
It's
Have you ever watched the movie Fireproof? It's actually one of the only movies I've ever seen that is against this whole idea of a woman filing for divorce and a man trying to like be again like fight for his marriage.
fireproof. I don't
By a
think so.
Christian, it's by a
Mm-mm.
Christian public. Actually, the guy who plays in it is Cameron Kirk. I think he's known for like Left Behind movies. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah.
But anyways, what was that?
I said, yeah, okay. I'm
Oh
looking,
yeah,
I've never seen it, but I've just looked it up on
yeah.
the
You
screen.
might be interested in your research because it actually became really popular for a while. The plot of the movie is this woman decides she's fed up with her husband and she's going to divorce him. And she has like maybe legit reasons because he's addicted to porn or whatever.
Mhm,
But she's decided she's had enough and she's filing for divorce. And the man's like, oh no, I want to save my marriage.
mhm.
So he heals, like he quits his porn addiction and he starts going to church and he starts doing all these things and he starts trying to get his wife to fall back in love with him. And she just like won't. And so he like writes this whole like love your wife no matter how she reacts and 40 days of like falling back in love with his wife kind of thing. And by the end of I won't give the plot away, but it's just a movie that's encouraging people to like try to keep their marriages and make their marriages fireproof.
Yeah, that sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just listening to it.
Mhm.
No, when women wanna leave, they're done, and you're gonna put yourself through hell if you try to make her happy and she's not. That's my opinion
Mhm.
on it. And
Yeah.
the other challenge is in the Christian communities, they always blame the lack of, they always blame men's corn addiction, but what they don't talk about is a lot of the women don't sleep with their husbands. And I know this
Yeah.
because I interviewed OnlyFans workers and their customer base is white married men.
Mhm.
So I like Christian married, like that's who they market to, sadly. That's why they keep doing this OF to Christian grift is because it's just like it's the same unfortunately, it's the same guys buying it. So
Mhm.
I don't think I'll watch the movie if you want, but I might roast it. I'll do a show on it.
It sounds like you might roast a little bit because you're kind of right. Like it does kind of make it initially the guy's fault, even though they do say that it's both people's fault. They
Mhm.
never acknowledge that maybe she's also like not doing something right because a lot of places aren't going to be like, oh well, she's not sleeping with him. They're never going to talk about that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Or I mean,
I-
like men don't really want you to do it if you don't want to either. So that's like, what do you know, like what it's kind of a, yeah. So,
That's a hard
well,
thing. Yeah.
I think that's all of your points. I really enjoyed this conversation. Do you have anything else?
This is good. I think the only other thing that I disagree with you online,
Mhm.
and it's completely a non sequitur, but like sometimes you'll post about like how women shouldn't be posting pictures of their children online, and I
Mhm.
actually strongly disagree with that.
Mhm.
I actually wrote a whole article about why I think it's good and why I think it's a fear psyop to not post pictures of your kids, and how I think it's this like this thing that's like trying to make the whole online world into this place of consent and everyone's a pedophile and all these
Mhm.
like scary, dangerous things. When in reality, like having pictures of children inspires people to have children, and seeing other people, like a lot of people are never even going to be around children, or if they do see children in public, parents like, oh, stay away from my kid because you might be creepy. Like I think that's a
Mhm.
really unhealthy mentality, but we should just be
Mhm.
like having pictures of smiling children online is like a
Mhm.
really beautiful thing. My dad, because I'm also 12 kids and my dad was a political activist, he used to share pictures of our whole family.
Mhm.
And first off, it validated that he was like a family man and that all of our kids' smiles were like kind of
Mhm.
made people like, oh yeah, he's not a bad man. Look at all of his kids smiling. And
Mhm.
it made people realize that he was in this because of his heart and not for like money or anything. He never
Mhm.
made money off of his work,
But then,
but people you are.
wouldn't you say you're using your kids to boost your reputation?
No, I don't think that's it at all. I think that a father, when he's prideful and like proud of his family,
Mhm.
he's going to look at my family. It doesn't necessarily boost his reputation. It does add glory to his reputation in a good and healthy way. Like I do think people use it in maybe a wrong way to
Mhm.
boost their reputation sometimes, but I think like occasionally posting a picture of your child out of like, oh,
Mhm.
I love my child, my beautiful child smile, is like a good and healthy thing and innocent.
Do you think that kids have a right to privacy growing up?
I think that this whole idea that children have like separate rights of their own is kind of bizarre, I guess.
Mhm.
I believe that children under a certain age are under the stewardship of their parents. The parent decides if they are educated and how they're educated.
Mhm.
Like at least in America, because I was homeschooled, so I didn't go to
Mhm.
public school. My parents made the decision whether I was public schooled or homeschooled. It wasn't
Mhm.
my right to decide that for myself.
Mhm.
Um, it was my parents' right to decide whether or not I did my chores or not. It wasn't
Mhm.
my right to be like, oh, you know what? I think I don't feel like doing my chores today. It's like, nope, I don't have those types of rights.
Mhm.
But this idea that a child has all these rights puts
Mhm.
it to like this lawyer. My husband calls it like this
Mhm.
lawyer's fantasy
Mhm.
playground, where everything is in the terms of consent or not consent.
Mhm.
That's just not how it works in real life. Like, it just doesn't
Yeah,
work that way.
but we do agree that kids have some rights, like they have the right to not be abused, for
Yeah.
example. They have the right to have, like, if you can't take care of your kid, my
Hmm.
family, we adopted 3 kids, that,
Hmm.
like, their parents just couldn't take care of them for
Yeah.
whatever reason. So
Hmm.
I disagree with you that kids don't. I think there is a baseline of rights,
Yeah, which applies to all
and
human beings.
when we go to Twitter, for example, there's porn on Twitter,
Hmm.
right? Like, there's literal, like, porn. So I
Yeah.
just don't think it's overly wise to post your young children on a site that there's porn on. If it's one thing, it's for your friends and family. I think that's different, like a private Facebook. But
Yeah.
I just start to see these trends of women sharing every intimate detail of their kid's life. And I just think that's wrong.
Yeah, and actually in my essay, because I wrote a whole essay
Hmm.
on this for Mary Harrington Substack,
Hmm.
and what I covered was that like there are certain things that are actually dangerous to share about your child, like your child's favorite teddy bear, or
Hmm.
your child's medical conditions, or these different things about your child. Because if a predator is going to come to your child, he's going to look for what school does your child go to,
Hmm.
what things does your child carry, as like a thing, what kind of medical issues does your child suffer with, and that's how a predator is actually going to get to your child.
Hmm.
But sharing a picture and having that picture like corrupted by a predator is actually extremely unlikely, and there's no statistics that I could find that actually back up
Hmm.
that it actually endangers your child. The picture itself,
So,
the thing, yeah,
sorry, I guess because my question is, what's more important, their privacy or clout?
yeah,
And to me, like, if you're constantly posting your kids, I think you're communicating to me that clout's more important, which is fine. I don't think that every person that posts online their kids is gonna, be taken or whatever. But,
Mhm.
you see them post their kids and they're bookmarked. Well, what do people use bookmarks for?
Yeah.
You know?
It is very funny. My husband's mother is a school teacher,
Mhm.
and she showed everyone a picture. I don't know if it was digital or not of Andy and I. We were when we first got engaged, and one of her students like copied that picture of us engaged and now keeps it on her like her school desk because she thinks it's like was like a romantic picture. So like I think there's like lots of reasons that people bookmark. Maybe they think it's like cute or romantic, but they could have bad reasons too. But
Not on I mean, even today, like, this girl didn't even post a picture of her daughter, but I covered a story, men are
mhm,
saying they're gonna rape like, men are saying they'll rape her daughter who's 14, and they're, like,
mhm,
doing jokes about it or threaten it, whatever.
yeah, and
And,
we had to too.
and, I'm like, "Well, what did you expect? It's Twitter." And I
Mhm,
think it's wrong, but I'm like, "You're responsible."
yeah,
And if you're as a parent and you wanna say, "Okay, if something bad happens and take responsibility," fine. But,
yeah.
I just think it's what you're communicating to from my perspective, you're communicating to the world that the cloud is more important than your kid's privacy.
Mhm. Yeah, I guess I think it's not quite that dichotomy because, like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep on talking
That's
about
okay,
this.
you're fine, you're fine. It's totally fine.
Like, I think that everyone who's on the internet, not necessarily because it's not
Mhm,
all about clout, but like we all kind of probably care about clout just a little teeny bit more than we should.
mhm,
So like you can't really separate it from that necessarily, though maybe not everyone's thinking about clout when they post a picture of their kid.
mhm,
But also like the whole idea of privacy, I'm not super into either. Like I don't think that we're meant to be private individuals, but like in the community.
mhm,
And so this whole idea that we even have a right to privacy as like we have rights to basic decency and to like
mhm,
not have like personal details all over the internet, whether we're an adult or a child.
mhm.
But overall, I don't really believe in like privacy to such the extent that most people like idolize it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I understand that perspective. I mean, it's just mine. Kids
Yeah.
under 5, I think at a certain age, they'll make their own social media accounts, so okay, but under 5, I think why?
Yeah. Yeah, I
But
guess. Yeah, I think it's also good to just respect people's differences on this. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, but, thank you very much for coming on. I very much enjoyed this. I've
Yeah.
b there's a lot of people that talk, and I don't think you have, but I've seen a lot of people trash talk me on Twitter. They never accept my invite to come on, so very bold of you to do it. Most people won't.
I try not to trash talk anyone on Twitter because I don't feel like we can know someone from Twitter alone.
Yeah. Well, do you wanna tell them where they can find you? Follow you on Instagram, Twitter?
On Twitter and Instagram, both it's Keturah Abigail. That's Keturah, and Abigail, like typically how Abigail's spelled. And then my Substack is called Polite Company, and it's at livingroomconversations.substack.com.
Okay. Well, thank you
Yeah,
very much, guys. I'll give you a round of applause.
yeah. Thank you. This was very fun. I really enjoyed it.
I did too. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
They said, "Wow, cults are following Pearl." Guys, I don't think she's actually in a cult. I think it's the. All right, let me read the comments that. All right, so as you guys know, if you guys want to have your comment read, you go to theaudacitynetwork.com. $10 a month, $80 a year, and unlimited comments I read. Sometimes, if nothing crazy, within reason, but let me read the responses today. All right, this site should have a live menu item at the top. I'm meeting with the website people tomorrow, so if you guys have changes that you want, I will let them know. Michael is the smartest kid in the class. Caesar says the Daily Wire often gather to smoke cigars on sets, while a real man like Andrew Wilson chain smokes cigars in his house. Respect. Despite the prop of cigars I have in front of him, I highly doubt Knowles smokes them in his own house because of his wife. If he's the new paradigm for manhood, we're doomed. Get that bag, girl, then go. Tom, don't. I'm not reading that, okay? Craig, looking good in black pearl. Your comp, The choice is the simp or then choose divorce, give her everything and lose it all. She has Najobi, she has no idea what she is talking about. We are as good as the freedom we are given. Excellent marriage advice does not work. The laws need to change. Stop the incentive. The rest follows. Rebel, I totally disagree with her that men struggle with pride more than women. I think that's completely off. I agree, but hey, you know, we have a difference of opinion. Pearl, when are you getting married to your young man? Should I ask him? Should I send it? Should I ask? Okay. She is showing off. Oh yeah, all these preachings. You have every choice as an opportunity to do what is right or wrong, no matter how big the choice is. Najobi, the moment she starts talking about Christianity, you need to bring Andrew Wilson into the debate. Yeah, guys, I don't like to argue religion because I just don't have the theological foundation that a lot of these people have been studying for years. It's just not, you know, I believe in God, but it's just not, I'm not arguing religion. Okay, if you don't find the right good woman, alone is better. The not to be means that those who get more and more, even more broadly, look at anything we are suffering with now. Everything started off benign and then became out with the fall. The easiest thing to do is to make the internet for adults only. They said Pearl's talking like a robot. Okay. All right. I need you guys, be nice, all right? I'm just kidding. Okay. If you guys enjoyed this show, please leave a comment, like the video on your way out. Feel free to get some Just Pearly merch on justpearlymerch.com. And if we get enough signups on the website, who knows? I might do events at some point. I mean, it could be fun. Anyways, guys, like the video and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.